And welcome back to the Nerdrotic Podcast. I'm coming to you live from San Francisco, California, and I come to you from nerdrotic.com. My name is Gary Buechler, and I am with my two co-hosts tonight. Quick turnaround on this one, guys. We got Dennis Bithoulkas down in San Diego and Chris in Burbank. Chris Ortiz in Burbank. What's up, guys?
What's going on, dude?
Hey, what's happening?
Yeah, so first question I have is, why do you think is behind AMC doing this quick turnaround, showing the first episode on Sunday? Why not show them back to back? Why do the first episode on Sunday and then do the regular time on Monday? It's a little unusual. What let's start out with Chris. What do you think why they did that?
Because last year the show was on Sundays, and I think they wanted people to get used to or remind people that, hey, the show's coming back on, so they watched it on a regular day on Sunday. And then I'm sure, because I didn't watch it live, I watched it online on AMC.com. I did not do it illegally. It's like, hey, our new time slot is Monday. I'm sure they front loaded like the living shit out of commercials and stuff and just telling everybody, oh, it's Monday now. And just to remind you, episode 2 is tomorrow. So I think that was the main reason why. It was just because, it was originally on Sunday. They wanted everybody to know it was moved to Monday. We now know it's moved to Monday.
Yep.
Dennis?
That's exactly the reason. And also, they played episode 1 right before episode 2. So,
you got a nice back-to-back tonight as well.
Yeah. I think having Fear the Walking Dead as a lead-in last night was pretty good. And I think it's smart that they spread them out. But I don't think people are like in this habit of watching it on a certain night, because it was, how many episodes was it last year? It was 10?
I think it was
episodes.
8. I think it was 8 episodes.
Yeah, so I mean, it's not like this 25 episode season where everybody's just watching it. I mean, this is something I guarantee you at least half of the people who watch this watched it online or streamed it somehow or binged it. But that's cool. I don't mind it being on Monday. It's just for selfish reasons. I'd rather it be on Sunday. Especially Preacher.
On that one.
Preacher should be on Sunday.
Preaching the word.
Preaching the word, man.
The word of innocent Dylan says,
I love you.
Foreskins are used in cream.
I love you rocking that competing websites t-shirt there, Chris.
Thank you.
Nice. Oh, I
also
what happened to you?
And also, you got to remember too,
Laundry Day.
You've got Chris Hardwick doing both Talking Dead and then also Talking Preacher, and I don't think he can do 2 episodes back to back, even being as prolific as he is with all the shit that he's been doing. So that's why they split it up on 2 days as well.
He is the busiest nerd in Hollywood, is he not? And the only nerd in Hollywood, obviously. I'm surprised he's not doing the Game of Thrones post show. Maybe he is this year. I don't know. But let's get on to this episode, because this episode was great, and it was funny as hell, man. And and almost like he heard our podcast last night. Fiore said, "Oh, my name's Fiore, by the way." It's like, oh, okay, a nice little response there. And I cannot pronounce or won't pronounce his boyfriend's name.
I can't confirm, Gary, that Seth Rogen heard the podcast last night, called up everybody into production and said, "God damn it, guys, we have 24 hours to do this. Well, we have to put this scene in."
And seeing that we haven't put it on iTunes or our website yet, and it's only been on YouTube, he was one of the 82 people who fucking saw it last night.
Yes, he was, Gary. The other 81 were all crew members from Preacher.
They were. All right, so we start out this episode with another gunfight, which is great, and we get to see the resolution of Jesse not being able to stop the Santa Killers, which is going to be a really interesting turn of events, because they were kind of caught in a conundrum, with the comics, like the word of Genesis, being able to stop the Santa Killers would have made this a very short, it worked out in comic books, but it's not going to work out for a season. So I love the calamity of events that had, and I'm sure you, being comic fans, noticed the unfortunate person's truck who crashed belonged to Axel Alonso. I don't know if you, the much maligned editor for Marvel Comics right now, probably the single most unpopular editor in Marvel Comics history, and friend of Seth Rogen and Garth Ennis and Derek Robertson and a lot of other people, and apparently a really good guy. But we've already talked about what we think of Marvel Comics right now in these podcasts. But did you guys catch that? Axel Alonso's. You did not catch
I saw the Axel Grease thing, but
Alonso's Axel Grease. There you go. So it wasn't him driving the truck. I don't think. I can't remember what he looks like, but
well, his head had kind of exploded, so we didn't see what he
so
like.
or maybe that was a message of that's what they wanted to happen to him. Considering what he's done to Marvel Comics. But I mean, unfortunately, he's taken a blame for something I don't think he has any power in whatsoever. Nope. But I think he is just doing what his overlords are telling him to do, and he wants to keep his job, and I don't blame him for that. But the nice little fun scene with the Santa Killers happens upon a gun what did it say? A gun aficionados. It's a gun aficionados.
Gathering, yes.
And I love the girl had like the rocket launcher one.
Mm-hmm.
And right after they fire up the Santa Killers, did you hear the shit they were saying? They're like, guns can solve anything. There's not a problem you can't solve without guns.
Oh, that is a straight up Garth Ennis just like line right there, or like just a Garth Ennis moment right there if I've ever seen one.
Yes, and a popular little secret, a man who loves his guns, by the way. You would think that he's anti-gun. Nope. Not at all.
No, this is the man who did the Punisher Armory, remember?
Yes. Oh my God.
Yeah. What I find funny is every time there's a group of people, a lot of people are going to die.
Well, yes.
In this show.
What I loved was oh, sorry, Dennis, I didn't mean to disrupt you.
I was waiting actually for the wedding. I was waiting for something to happen during the wedding. That's all I was waiting for.
Yeah, no, same here. I was expecting the Santa Killers to come in and then be like, who the fuck are you? But we are getting too far ahead in this episode. I do have to say, I do love the moment where Tulip's finding out the news about, what is it, Ansville? Is that the name of the town and stuff?
It's supposed to sell
Anvil.
Because remember,
Anvil and stuff. And how like all this like chaos is happening behind her, because it reminded me of the scene in Superbad with Seth Rogen where they're at the bar and they're giving McLovin drinks, and you hear over the radio the cops are like, we need backup, there's so much blood here, like, and you just see the cop just turn around and just turn the radio, just click the radio off, and he goes, so anyways. Like for a moment when I saw that scene, that's the first thing I thought of, was I was like, oh, they probably referenced that.
That's funny. That is, and that was the one funny scene in Superbad, but not my favorite movie. But and I like Seth Rogen. I don't hate the guy. I think he's good at some movies, but yeah, that was not my favorite. But that was a good scene, Chris. You're right. Good callback on that one. I don't know. I think
I love my callbacks,
dude. Oh, and then the guy. Okay, just everything getting shot up, and yeah, I was kind of. It was cool that they found out about Anvil right then, and I did like you saw the guy firing the gun in the background. I'm loving their use of that. It's almost getting overused a little bit, but it worked really well. And then the guy in shock at the Coke machine who got ginger ale, and then
hey, there's a lot of benefits to ginger ale, I might add.
There is. That's where we get one of our best Cassidy lines. Where he says ginger ale is really good for blood loss, it wasn't okay. This episode wasn't as good for Cassidy lines as last episode, but I'm remembering a lot more of this episode because I actually wrote them down. And we could do a whole season of just our favorite Cassidy lines, which would be fine. But no, that's I love the use of shock in that one. That reminds me of what was it, Airport 75 or 77, where oh my God, who's the guy who plays Shepard Book in Serenity?
Ron Glass.
Ron Glass.
Yeah.
Ron Glass. And this is probably why I have a fear of flying. It's one of my earliest memories. And I was watching this movie on TV with my dad, and Ron Glass was a plane survivor. And he's walking out of a plane that crashed in the swamp. And he's like, my watch is broken. Why won't my watch work? And that's probably why I don't like flying. But that's what it reminded me. And that just totally aged me right there, because it was actually 75 and I was watching Airport 75, which has nothing to do with this. But so they managed to get away from the Santa Killers, and I don't know how the hell they got through that window that quick, but this is a comic book show, and we can just throw some realities. Like when we get to the Gary scene, I'll talk about my problem with the Gary scene, other than the fact that it's a guy named Gary. But
no, I found that realistic.
Yeah, because I look just like that guy. I do.
Artistic license.
Artistic license. I don't know. So then they shoot off, and then we get into the name of this episode was Mumbai Sky Tower, and we find out we get a little background on. Okay, I'm horrible at pronunciation of names, people. So is it Fiore?
Fiore.
Anyone? I got two guys here.
Fiore.
Somebody answer.
Fiore. Can you hear me?
Fiore. Okay. Yes, I can hear you. Okay.
Don't worry. The 81 crew members from Preacher just nod their heads, going, "Yes,
They
he
did.
got it. The
It's
scene
Fiore.
worked."
Yes. So we get to see what happened to Fiore, and apparently, all this is a couple days ago, and he let a couple buses pass by, and he's just meandering through life, missing his boyfriend, and then we get this great montage, and this montage, honestly, for me, was like the best scene in the entire series so far. Was just him trying to kill himself over and over again, and it's just fucking hilarious. And to the song "That's Life," I don't know, that worked for me, guys. I was laughing my ass off. How about you?
My favorite moment is when the guy got his nuts blown off after wondering about the food court when he was storming the church when that Jackie Earle Haley told him to.
Okay,
back in season 1.
Back to season 1. I don't know. That was a short scene that was funny, but this was a good long. That was a well used montage, and they did do 2 montages in this, which is kind of cheating. You're only supposed to do 1 montage per episode.
This is Preacher. They don't give a fuck about cheating.
I know they don't.
I found it funny actually. The guy who was the lounge singer is actually the guy from he was in Chuck, the TV show Chuck, for a while.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and he was like this little Weasley. He was one of the guys that worked at the Nerd Herder.
Yeah. I watched Chuck.
Yeah. So that's what was kind of funny that he showed up, and I think he and Seth Rogen know each other somehow through some of the movies, and I've seen him in other stuff. He's just very kind of slimy, so it kind of worked for.
What was he? Richard Patel or something like that?
Yeah, Bob. I think it was he just
Bob Patel. Bob Patel. Yeah.
Old brown eyes.
Well, dude, the use of just the mixing of an Indian casino, and they're using the dot India casino, which was hilarious. Oh, and then the Indian wedding planner, by the way, was fucking awesome.
Gosh, I wanted a series with her. She was hysterical.
Oh my God. Cancellation, get the Chavez family.
Yeah, the way she would just kind of flutter in and just say something really quick and then flutter right back out again.
Are we having a wedding or what, guys?
So fucking accurate, man. That's why I did my second marriage in Vegas, ladies and gentlemen. Kind of pissing on the institution of marriage in this episode, by the way. And I tell you what, I am a big fan of it. I liked it so much I did it twice. So we get to Fiore's origin, or what's been happening to him. And through his mass suicides, he the last one was the best, when he grabs the mic, the singer hands him the mic, and he's like, "Hey, finish the song." And he dips it in the bucket of ice to kill himself. And then he just pops up, and then people are clapping, and he's like, "Hey, I'll be a magician." And then they just do another montage of him just fucking being cut in half. And oh my God, it was so fucking funny. But I won't retell it. Just go back and rewatch it, guys, because there's some good rewatchability with this show, by the way. Again, not a ton to talk about when there's 2 big long montages, and we'll get to the second one because it's almost as good. I don't know. They're really playing up early. Excuse me. The Cassidy, the Cassidy Tulip, Jesse love triangle. This is kind of, I don't know. It looks like that's going to come to a head pretty soon. I don't know if it's going to be in the next few. I don't think it's going to go the whole season. But I don't know. I don't know how many. Just ask you this: how many seasons do you think this show has, guys? I know it's still early.
4 to 5.
Yeah, I was going to say about 4.
Yeah, I cannot see it going beyond 4. I mean, I can't see it going beyond 5. 5, if they're stretching it out, and maybe what they I don't know. I'm curious to see if with the 10 episodes this season, if it's going to be padded out, if every episode's going to be as good as these first 2, or if there's going to be 1 or 2 filler episodes. If that's the case, then I think that maybe they should do 8 episodes a season or something like that and everything. But Gary, how do you feel? I mean, do you feel like it's going to go beyond 5 or?
I agree. I really love what I'm getting to is I love the pace this one's on. I
Yes.
actually do. It feels like they like fucking put the gas on and like, cause that's what this show is. It's fucking balls out. So to get to my previous reference to them pissing on marriage, it actually wasn't in the context of Jesse and you know, they just realized their town blew up. And Jesse just, you know, it does a really horrible, you know, asks Tulip, you know, proposes to Tulip, and it's fucking horrible. It's almost as bad as mine was on my second marriage, and my wife can attest to that. And you know, the worst time to propose to somebody is to fix something. Okay, and that's, you know what, that's why half of marriages, you know, dissolve within the first couple of years in this country. Is I think people just settle, or they go, you know, I am feeling this hole in my life, so let's A, have a kid, or B, get married. Worst fucking motivation right there. So I agree with Tulip on this. I do. And she fucking slaps him, which he deserved it. But then she says yes, you know, probably in a moment of weakness. So they're gonna go down and get married, and it's funny seeing a Protestant preacher getting married, you know, by I guess, I don't know, was it Hindu? Was it
Yeah, Hindu?
Okay,
yeah.
You know, it was cool, and but
Circle of life.
right before the circle of life, right before, well, I mean, come on, Hindu's like thousands of years older. They actually have some of the best ancient texts written. It's awesome stuff. So right before they're going to get married, Tulip sees Gary, who does not look like me. And she says she's got to change her shirt. She goes back to the room, and they have a little conversation about Victor. And, you know, those of you who know the comic book, you know, this is nothing like the comic book Tulip at all. Before I get into that, guys, she thinks Walter's dead, and Walter was her granddad or her dad.
He was the person who took care of her.
Because
we don't know. Yeah, exactly.
I don't want him to take away her origin. That's what I'm getting at, because her origin is fucking rad. Like her dad. Fully the origin real quick from the comics. I hope I'm not spoiling, but these comics have been out for 15 years and everything's available on Wikipedia. But the origin, you know, of Tulip, well, I'll just leave it here. I'll say it's rad, and I don't want him to take that away. What do you think, guys? I mean, I love her origin. Just the whole story about her pops, mainly.
I don't remember it. To tell you the truth, I'd have to go back and reread. So it's been a while for me on that one.
Yeah, I also got to reread it, but
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, but before Tulip went off, Gary, let me ask you something. When you have to convince somebody to try to call off a supernatural hitman, how many hours does it usually take you?
I would say it's 2 hours and 45 minutes, roughly.
What a coincidence. Same with me. Dennis, how about you? How long does it take you?
It only takes me an hour and 45 minutes. Because
damn, look at this motherfucker right over here.
He's quick. Well, you know, sometimes you got to make it last, Dennis.
I can stretch things out. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, before Tulip met up with Gary, your favorite montage was the one with Fiore. My favorite montage this season was the Pillow, what I am officially dubbing the Pillow Fort montage in this. Because let's face it, if I did that much hard drugs, not that I've ever done that, it'd probably be a terrible thing for everybody around me. I'd probably try to build a Pillow Fort as well. And
we also have the second mention of foreskin use in this.
Yes.
We do. So yeah, that montage is happening simultaneously with some lovey-dovey stuff with yeah, sorry, I got ahead of myself. With some lovey-dovey stuff with Jesse, which we, you know, it was just lovey-dovey stuff. But it was Cassidy trying to you know, convince Fiore, who wouldn't help them, by the way. He was not they went to the Mumbai Sky Tower to get Fiore to help them you know, call off the Saint of Killers, which they find out that he's actually the one who contracted it, and they were a little shocked about that. But then Jesse's like, you know, I don't really blame you. You know, you were in a bad space, so why don't we just call him off? And then we find out that when Jesse used the word, that's when that draws out the Saint of Killer. So he can't use the word now. So they try to convince Fiore, and he doesn't give a fuck, because I guess he's kind of happy in his little magician gig. So that's when Cassidy kind of like goes, I've got a skill set. You know, and we get that, you know, the 2 hours and 45 minutes quote. And then it gets into, I don't know, man, now that I think back on it, this montage might be a little better.
They had a pillow fort. They built a pillow fort.
Well, and just starting out with, I mean, I have a long history with these things, but starting out with the very accurate use of, speedballs, although speedballs were not my favorite thing, by the way. I really don't.
Well, it's Seth Rogen.
I know. Didn't we talk about that just last night? It's like Seth Rogen has a lot of knowledge about the party.
Yeah.
A lot of knowledge. And so do I. And and it was very accurate, although I'm not big on the speedballs, was never a big heroin guy. As a matter of fact, I never actually touched the shit in my life, but I did pretty much everything else. And that was fucking funny. And I love the first time he hits him.
He kills him, he fucking kills him. And he's like, okay, a little less heroin, we got it.
But there's nothing, what is it? Oh God, I wrote it down. There's no day a speedball can't turn around. I'm paraphrasing there.
I just like also when he's injecting them, he injects them and he goes, there you go, how's that, buddy? And he slaps him on the back and you hear the and you see that.
I know, right?
And then in the room, he comes out and goes, little less heroin.
A little less heroin.
Oh no, but I love that montage just because of just the utter joy that they. I mean, like, Gary, did you feel a little Fear and Loathing was watched when they were editing or putting together this montage at all?
A, Fear and Loathing was watched, and B, again, that is a lot of knowledge. I think that's just pretty much taken from one of the nights Seth Rogen had with just James Franco. I could just see Seth Rogen and James Franco replaced doing that. As a matter of fact, I think that was actually taken from a night those two spent together. And I wouldn't be wrong from that. I mean, especially the sitting in jacuzzis reading the Archie comics. I can definitely see both of them doing that. Not judging, by the way. And
well, I've read Archie comics in jacuzzis, just not with that much drugs in me.
No, or any people. You were by yourself. No, I'm just kidding.
No, Gary, I
was there with you.
No, I wasn't by myself. I had a 10-year-old boy next to me. And...
Oh God, here we go. No,
let me tell you, back in the days,
it was actually a shriveled up 47-year-old.
And there was a 77-year-old man across from us, Gary. It was beautiful.
and a midget with an umbrella, and David Lynch was directing it. But
wow, were you there too?
Oh my God. By the way, have any guys tried to watch the Twin Peaks?
No, I got to be in a special place for that show,
dude. Yeah, couldn't do it. And I watched the first one and I liked it, but I am not in my 20s anymore and don't have patience for that shit.
Yeah,
so
I'm not a David Lynch fan, so yeah.
Who are you a fan of, Dennis?
Good directors, good writers. Sam Raimi.
Preacher.
Yes, Preacher. Oh, Preacher, the TV show.
John Lynch, the GM from the San Francisco 49ers. You're a John Lynch fan, not a,
Who the hell's John Lynch?
David Lynch. Who the fuck's John Lynch? Sports. Okay. So so we have a great Coke, Speedball, buddy, drug, Fear and Loathing montage, and they're playing soccer with giant beach balls, and they made a pillow fort. And who hasn't made a pillow fort? Oh, me. I have never made a pillow fort. Have you guys made a pillow fort before?
Yes, and we're changing that this Comic-Con, Gary. You are making a pillow fort.
Oh, okay. I made a pup tent.
That counts.
Okay, not a pillow fort.
You're
good.
Only a pup tent?
Only a pup tent. And those of you who, never mind, there's very precious few people who will know what that is. Oh, I told my wife about that. She's like, what? I'm all pup tent. Comes in very handy at 6th grade camp or jail or, wherever you end up, a pup tent. Overshare. Should I have a graphic overshare time with Gary?
I don't think you're sharing enough. Now I'm going to take my shirt off and you're going to share some more.
My coworkers are watching today. I really do. It's other than the crew.
A special punishment or something?
No, I just want to come back to a total embarrassment when I come to work. It's great. Nothing like a little humiliation in the morning. Makes you feel alive. So yeah, they get really close, and I'm pretty sure they had sex.
Well, come on, dude. They were doing a sword fight. That's all I'm going to say.
Well, didn't wasn't it 3 minutes and 27 seconds they were talking about the foreskins and that's why ice cream is creamy, and then there was like a big smudge on fucking Cassidy's face, and that's what Fiore's all look at him, and hey, people will do what they will do in the animal kingdom. So in the meantime, let's get back to Gary, not this Gary, but Gary taking on Tulip. So this is where you just apply comic book rules, right? I mean, because
it's very coincidental. It's very coincidental.
When Angelina Jolie is in Salt and killing 6 Navy SEALs or whatever it is, I have a hard time with that, okay? Because she's a wonderful and probably very strong 120 pounds versus 400-pound guys, and this is supposed to be a spy show, so it's supposed to be kind of real, right? I have a hard time with her kicking 6 SEAL team 6 guys' ass. Tulip, I'm kind of okay with her kicking a giant 400, and that guy, what was he, 350?
Yeah, if that probably a little more.
So but it's what she killed him with that was so wonderful.
I mean,
no, it wasn't the buzzing thing or something.
It was the buzzing thing, like your fucking marriage is ready, and it's got a little hard on it.
Which if you turn it upside down, it looks like a penis with balls.
Yes, but doesn't everything to you, Dennis? Let's talk about that. Tell me about your mother.
I just thought it was funny because there was a lot of how shall we say this? There was a lot of penises in this episode. That's all I'm going to say.
Well, yeah, they are definitely going down the sexual innuendo. I mean, they're not, but I mean that you can't even blame that on Seth Rogen, who's got he was involved with a movie called Sausage Party. Yes. But there's plenty of that in the comics too. So I mean, there's plenty of blame to go around. This is, I wonder.
In the comics, there's a character who actually literally his head looks like a penis.
Yes, and an ass.
Yes.
I'm just saying there's one part where Dominic Cooper is, he's in the bedroom just before he proposes. He turns because he's in the underwear, and I was just like, dude, no, the camera's got to move because that's the wrong angle right there.
Well, it's what's the wrong angle for some is the right for others,
yes.
And you got to give it up to the ladies or the guys who like the Dominic Cooper is a handsome dude. I'm not going to back off on that one, and would be a great replacement for Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man, by the way, but that's neither here nor there.
The problem is that he's already played his father,
so he can play his son.
So you're saying saying to go full Planet of the Apes Cornelius?
Why not?
Yeah.
I think he'd be really good, and he's got the personality for it. I mean, the guy's super talented. Going to be a big star, that kid. He's got some talent. He's going places.
That's why I say it's only going to last 4 seasons because they're going to lose him at some point.
Well, and that's why they make 8 to 10 episode seasons. That's why you're going to see more stars and bigger names. And plus, honestly, I would say cable TV is a better destination than film at this point. Anyway,
actually, Gary, I just digress back up a little bit and stuff. If you want him to play Tony Stark, even though he played Howard Stark, what you got to do is actually have him play the Human Torch, because then he'll be recast in a Marvel film in an even better part.
Oh, there you go. But it's got to be a bad Human Torch. Okay,
exactly.
If we're following we're following the Chris Evans plan. Well, that's the subject for our next podcast. Is this this non-phase 4, but that's not about Preacher, so who cares? I think Dominic Cooper. Oh, that's right, That's right. Michael B. Jordan ended up in a Marvel film too.
That's what I mean. Like, you want to be in a Marvel movie? It stars the Human Torch in a Fantastic Four film. You'll be fine.
I can't take my eyes off that IGM.com shirt you're wearing.
It glows in the dark.
It glows in the dark. That was one of my favorite sites in like 2000. They used to be really good.
Are you saying that they're now 2000 and late?
I would say that they lost me when they lost a lot of gamers when a little payola was going on with their video game reviews. But
no, God. Yes. Scandal!
That's why you go here, because nobody pays us. We are going to give you honest opinions until we sell out. And believe me, if it's offered, I'm fucking selling out. Okay, sorry, I'll pull a Cassidy. I'll take the money and then tell you the truth anyway and backstab the shit out of them. So whatever. But maybe I just.
And now we present to all of you the Neurotic Network, directed by David Fincher and starring Jesse Eisenberg as Gary and Andrew Garfield as Dennis Bithoulkas and Armie Hammer as Christopher Ortiz.
Well, why'd you get to Armie Hammer? Why did I get Jesse Eisenberg?
You know what? Don't worry about it. Okay, David Fincher's casting this. You can take it up with him.
Okay, I will.
You'll see me in interviews.
I think yours is pretty good.
You'll see me in interviews just being like, yeah, Armie Hammer really looks exactly like me. What with the long, blushing, flowing hair, with the amazing physique and everything.
Armie Hammer. Unfortunate. So we were at 3 minutes and 27 seconds. There was some gay sex that happened. And then Tulip wises up and backs out of the marriage after this little scene with Gary where she gets manhandled and almost beaten, but he was just grabbing her neck. He was just trying to restrain her very harshly.
By lifting her off the ground. Too.
I don't know how she didn't have bruises or anything, but by lifting her up to the ground, drag her, and he was just trying to get some phone reception, which, fucking Sprint. Come on. And they were trying to get a hold of Victor, and I think they're alluding to something that actually is part of Tulip's story from the comics, so I won't get into it, but I'm sure that's it. And they just need to talk to somebody named Victor, and obviously she's running from that. So she ends up killing Gary and heads back and calls off the wedding because, nothing like a little murder to ruin a wedding.
I will say this: the fight choreography in that scene was excellent, and I know you went back going back to what you were talking about with Salt with Angelina Jolie. I do agree with you that when I watched that film, I did have a problem with Angelina Jolie taking on like 4 or 5, just massive 99.9% muscle mass and stuff, guys. I found it easier to believe that Tulip could take on this guy, primarily because the action was shot in such a way where you could see her taking him down piece by piece. Almost kind of think of it like. Oh God, what's a good analogy for it? Like, if you ever seen The Raid or anything like that, when you see like that guy, how like he's like, okay, I got to go for the legs first because that's where like the weakest part of him is. Okay, the legs are done now. Now I can get the arm and everything. You kind of see like Tulip kind of use that type of fighting style where she takes him down bit by bit in order to finally beat him to death with her Chapel of Love dildo restaurant beeper thing.
Well, go on, Dennis.
What I saw from that, it actually kind of reminded me of a movie called Haywire with Gina Carano.
Yes, that's good. Yes, that's actually the one I was
actually. That's the choreography that I saw from that, and I don't know if they've gotten the same guy or what, but that's kind of what I saw in that whole fight choreography of that scene.
I think Seth Rogen, did he direct this episode too? I think.
Yes.
Good. He's good. He's good. He's the direction when in the beginning of the episode when the Saint of Killers is pulling his guns out and you track his guns, that was rad. I love that. So and then when he fires the bullet, you're in the barrel. Very
Sam Raimi.
Very very Sam Raimi. Oh, and very Costner Robin Hood, by the way, too. Sorry to say, but
you mean the finest Robin Hood there ever was?
Yes, and any Robin Hood with a Canadian singer, well, an American Robin Hood with a Canadian singer lead singing, Bryan Adams. Bryan Adams just makes everything 10% better. How many times
do the Canadians have to apologize for Bryan Adams?
Dude, about 100,000 times more. Okay.
Do you guys think that they forced Mary Elizabeth Mastriano to actually say the name of the song in the film? Because I'll never forget watching Robin Hood again on TV, and she actually says some of the lyrics of the song to Robin Hood at one point.
That's probably why the director left 3/4 of the way through.
Yeah, he's just kind of like, I can't do this shit right now, guys.
But still, Alan Rickman, one of the greatest performances in a bad movie ever. But back to Preacher.
I'm sorry, I just have to say the line. Cut his heart out with a spoon.
Why a spoon?
Why a spoon? Because it would hurt more.
And cancel Christmas.
But be in my room 9:00. You be in my room 9:30. Pick a friend.
Yeah, right. I mean, like that was worth it right there.
That's efficiency right there.
It is. So we end up. Fiore decides after after the speedball and some sex, Fiore decides to help them. And then Jesse uses the word and tells them to find peace. And then we see the double-edged sword. That is the word. And what Fiore does is he asks the Saint of Killers to do one more thing. And he actually turns in Jesse anyway because he knows how dangerous Genesis is, and then the Santa Killer kills Fiore live on stage, and people boo him, but he looks happy. He looks like he's off. And they mentioned they don't know where angels go when they die, right? So I think we'll see them come back.
Well, it was obvious that Fiore was into Andy Kaufman at that point in time, and he wanted art to imitate life and life to imitate art. So
there you go.
Good for him. He's the man on the moon now.
And we also found out what the payment is for the Saint of Killer's contract.
Yes,
which is to spend time with his family.
Now, without getting into spoiler territory, do you guys think they're going to start hinting at certain factors dealing with the origin of the Saint of Killers? Gary, I know you know what I mean by this. Sooner rather than later, unlike in the comic books where they revealed certain things and then revealed kind of the second half of it in a much later point. Sorry, I apologize to anybody who's listening to this who's like who's wondering why I'm being so vague about this, but trust me, you don't want me to spoil what I'm talking about.
Well, this is the thing we kind of dealt with on American Gods and Expanse, where you've read the book and you know where things are going. Preacher's a lot less that. I mean, we know where it's ending up, but how it gets there is already completely different.
Yes,
than, the comics. So I mean, there's still plenty of mystery. I hope this gets people to read the comics because you want to go to the source material. This is why they made it into a show, and the comics are way more gonzo than this show is. Believe it, as gonzo as this show is, the comics are worse. I mean, at least in the comics they show you like Genesis being Genesis. You know what I mean? They show the angel and demon fucking. So I mean, and that's cool. What kind
they show a man trying to fuck himself, literally.
Yes. So, I hit my keyboard there. You guys still there? I'm sorry about that.
Okay.
Okay. So yeah. Yes, Chris. I think what they'll probably treat it just like they did last season, where they give you a little tidbits in the beginning and then the big tidbit at the end. That's why I think they're going to go with it. Because it's important. It's really, and then he is arguably the best character in the series. I mean, aside from with we're talking with Arseface and Cassidy and Jesse and Tulip. I like the Saint of Killers. He's my favorite, and he's one of the best characters in comics. So I hope they treat him right, and Graham McTavish is the Saint of Killers. He is fucking badass. He is great.
He was actually on Talking Preacher tonight on AMC, and he was talking about reading the comics and how, he just couldn't believe all this stuff that was happening. He's like, holy crap, how are they going to film this? And he's reading the script and he's like, holy crap, how are they going to film this?
Yep.
Yeah.
So I know where I recognize from. He was in The Hobbit. He played one of the dwarves. But the one with all the tattoos on his head. So yeah, I mean, like, well, dude, I'm already seeing stuff that I didn't think they could do. So good for them. I mean, that means they've got, for one, they're promoting the hell out of this. They put it on a Monday night, which is a prime night. It looks like it's got plenty of money behind it. So good for AMC for backing this. Cause this is, this would, like we talked about last night, this is a tough pitch. This is a tough sell. And, this isn't for mom and pop America. I mean, I'll find out when I go to work to see if, I kind of judge things by my normal workmates, and they all jumped onto American Gods, which was shocking to me, so we'll see what people think about this. I don't know. Not a lot of interest on podcast side, but we'll see if that changes after tonight because of the Monday airing. So I don't know. What do you guys think?
Well, I agree with you. I mean, it is a smart move that they put it on Monday night. And again, I know it's just because of Chris Hardwick's schedule and then marketing, and Saturday nights does not work. So Monday actually is the right time to do it, because any other time during the week, you're not really going to get your audience. And having the first episode air right after Fear the Walking Dead brings in that audience as well. Because you have to remember, there is a lot of gore in this show, and a lot of people kind of gravitate towards that, especially from Fear the Walking Dead. So you kind of get a little bit of crossover, and then hopefully the humor brings people in too.
Yeah, I think moving it to Monday was a smart choice. I mean, AMC, they're kind of known for taking risks at this point in time. I mean, like, they greenlit Mad Men when nobody else would do it, even though Mad Men is a completely different show and much more formulaic, I guess you could say, than Preacher. They greenlit Breaking Bad when nobody else would do that show also. Then they made the prequel series to Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul, which is actually, in my opinion, just as good as Breaking Bad, if not better, and that's all like a huge risk for them. So I think AMC has done a very good job of kind of trying to find shows or put shows on the air that other people wouldn't, because they know that, there's a certain amount of quality storytelling to each of these genres that hasn't been taken before and everything. And so, they do a really good job of it. I mean, also I've heard that Halt and Catch Fire is also a really good show. And once again, that's another one whose apparently development history was the same, where like no other network could do it or film it and stuff. I mean, I find it very interesting that AMC took a show that even HBO didn't want to do, that they were nervous about doing. I mean, that's something really interesting to consider and stuff. So, yeah, glad it's on AMC, and I'm glad it's on Monday nights.
No, I think HBO's been fumbling lately. They really haven't come out other than Silicon Valley. And don't tell me about the left. That's like 2 years away. I'm talking about the last 5 years. And yes, they're taking a chance on Watchmen. And it's like, what fucking took you so long? What we talked about last podcast is they're owned by Warner Brothers. For Christ's sake, they could do a rated R Batman. You know what I mean? They could fucking do anything they want. And I don't know what and they did fire. They have a new program director now, so they fired their program director a year ago. So that's probably why Watchmen's there, because people are noticing, like, Preacher would have been perfect. I mean, I'm glad it's actually perfect on AMC, to be honest with you, but it would have been good on HBO. And AMC's got better shows right now than HBO. HBO has two good shows, and one of them is a half-hour comedy, which great half-hour comedy, but it's half-hour comedy. And and Stars is coming up now. I mean, fucking look at Stars. They got Ash versus Evil Dead, which might be the greatest show of all time, and American Gods, which is pretty fucking good. So it's a good time for television because it's such a crappy time for movies. I mean, like, it's garbage out there for movies. So I'm very happy that the TV is good, and it's a lot cheaper than going to movies with families and stuff like that. So I don't know. I was very happy with this episode. So it ended up with, Santa Killers kills Fiore. He looks happy. And the Santa Killers is, refusing to drive his car or get on a horse, and he's willing to walk it out. So they're going to follow the music, guys. And it's jazz, and we had a defender of jazz on our comments, which is good. It's good. It's okay. I don't like jazz. I'm not saying it's bad. I don't like it. So and they're gonna go to New Orleans, and that's we see Tulip go New Orleans. Shit. Great shot, by the way, of her wearing those like 80s sunglasses, and just a really good shot. It was such a well-directed episode. This episode was really pretty, really, really pretty. And they're going to go to New Orleans, which in the scenes we saw, there is a lot more to do in New Orleans than listen to jazz and get killed. So so where do you final words on this episode, guys?
What a great episode. They're 2 for 2 right now.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I mean, I think the first episode had a little more shock value at the opening stuff, and the second one kind of followed through, bringing it along, and it had the comedy to it. So the first episode had the shock value, the second one had the comedy.
Yeah, they've both been pretty funny. It's been a little more funny this year. A little heavy on the comedy, which is really good. I have no problem with that, because maybe I wasn't supposed to laugh, but I found myself laughing my ass off every time I read a Preacher comic. So, but I don't know. My wife and I always laugh at like the wrong parts in movies. It's just kind of a thing. So I can never judge that. It's bad moral barometer. So that is great. What was that?
There's nothing wrong with that. I laughed my ass off during Gone Girl to the point where everybody got pissed off at me during the theater. Like, literally, I'm just like, this is the funniest movie I've ever seen.
Dude, yes. Yeah, there have been quite a few movies where you've just laughed and you're like, that's all I have to do is laugh because this is such garbage. All right. You can find all of our videos and podcasts at nerdrotic.com. We have a Facebook page where you can follow. Dennis puts all of the latest news from us and from the world of nerd on Facebook. It's the Nerdrotic Podcast on Facebook, and we are live on this YouTube channel, which is the Nerdrotic channel. Just Google it. We are also on iTunes. We're also on Podomatic. We're also a couple other places I had no idea we were, but we're there. So our podcast ended up there.
Everywhere.
Everywhere.
We want to be in your ears.
Yes, we do.
We want you folks to be in our ears, so feel free to Twitter us, message us, do anything else you feel like to ask us questions, leave us comments. We'd love to hear from you guys. We'd love to hear about your opinions of the show and everything and what you think of it. Whether you liked it, loved it. That's right.
Yes. Please pay attention. If you comment and subscribe, I will respond to you in the feed, and you will win a $20 Amazon gift card, and I will shoot you my email address, and you can get it to me, and I will send it to you. It usually takes a couple weeks to turn around because I got a day job, and that is it. So, Dennis. Oh, and if you are curious about our Twitter feeds, they're all in the links in the description for this video or podcast. Dennis, take us out.
Don't let the door hit your ass on the way out, America.
Kids, life sucks sometimes. That's why God invented whiskey.